Good morning, students. Students, today we will start a new chapter, chapter ninth, Globalization, from the book Contemporary World Politics. Students, this term, globalization, is not new to us because we have already learned about globalization in class 10th, but in class 12th, we will again discuss this term at a vast level. It means in this chapter, we will mainly discuss about the economical, political, and the social consequences of globalization. So, let's start the chapter. And before I tell you the meaning and the causes of globalization, first of all, we should discuss the three stories: the story of Janardhan, the story of Ramdhari, and the story of Sarika, which is related directly to the globalization. So, let's start the first story of Janardhan. Janardhan, who works in a call center, he leaves late in the evening for the work and becomes John from Janardhan when he enters his office, acquires a new accent and speaks a different language to communicate with his clients who are living thousands of miles away. He works all night, which is actually the daytime for his overseas customers. And Janardhan is rendering a service to somebody who is on probability he is never like to meet physically. His holidays also do not correspond to the Indian calendar but to those of his clients who happen to be from the US. It means, student, a person who is working in a call center and he is attending the customer from all over the world. Then the second story of Ramdhari. Ramdhari has gone shopping to buy a birthday gift from his 9 years old daughter. He has promised her a small cycle and decide to search the market for something he finds affordable as well as of reasonable quality. He finally does buy a cycle which is actually manufactured in China but is being marketed in India. It meets his requirement of quality as well as affordability, and Ramdhari decided to go ahead with his purchase. Even last year, Ramdhari, on his daughter's insistence, had bought her a Barbie doll which was originally manufactured in the US but was being sold in India. It means, student, the second story is about the Indian market where the goods are manufactured and it export to the other countries. Similarly, the products from the other countries, they are coming into India and being sold. Then the story of Sarika, who is the first generation learner who has done remarkably well throughout her school and college life by working very hard. She now has an opportunity to take on a job and begin an independent career which the women of her family had never dreamt of earlier, while some of her relatives are opposed. But she finally decided to go ahead because of the new opportunities that have been made available to her generation. Student, all the three examples here illustrate an aspect each of what we call globalization. In the first example, Janardhan, who was participating in globalization of services because he was doing work in call center. Similarly, Ramdhari's birthday purchases tells us something about the movement of commodities from one part of the world to the another part. Similarly, Sarika, who is faced with a conflict of the value partly originating from a new opportunity that earlier was not available to the women in her family, but today is a part of reality that has gained wider acceptability. It means, student, the common thing from in all the example is globalization. So student, let's take the another example, some more examples to understand the meaning of globalization. The first one is some farmers committed suicide because their crops failed. They had bought very expensive seeds supplied by multinational companies. Then the second is many retail shopkeepers fear that they would lose their livelihoods if some major international companies open retail chains in the country. Similarly, a film producer in Mumbai was accused of lifting the story of his film from the another film made in Hollywood. It means, student, these examples show us that globalization need not always be positive. It can have the negative consequences for the people. Every coin has two sides. Similarly, the globalization has positive as well as the negative consequences for the people. Like one more example, if I take that an Indian company bought a major rival company based in Europe despite protests by some of its current owner. So student, these examples show that globalization has negative effects, as well as globalization need not to be only about the economic issues. It is the direction of influence always from the rich to the poor countries. It means globalization has the negative as well as the positive consequences. जो लास्ट थ्री एग्जाम्पल हमने पढ़े, द स्टोरी ऑफ जनार्दन, द स्टोरी ऑफ रामधारी एंड द स्टोरी ऑफ सारिका was the positive, whereas these three examples are the negative effects. So let's come to the meaning of globalization now. What is globalization? बच्चे, globalization, it is a process of interaction, integration among the people, among companies and the government worldwide, and it has accumulated since 19th century due to advances in transport and the communication technology. And student, globalization is a multi-dimensional concept. It has political, economical, cultural manifestation, and these must be adequately distinguished. It means, student, only if I'm saying that globalization means the transmission of ideas, meaning and the values, it is the limited definition of the globalization. Globalization is not just the transmission of the goods and the services and the integration and interconnection among the people and the companies. It is more than that. It has the political as well as the economical and the cultural manifestation. It means, अगर मैं cultural globalization की बात करूँ, cultural globalization क्या होता है? It refers to the transmission of ideas, meaning, values around the world in such a way as to extend and establish the social relations. Similarly, अगर मैं economic globalization की बात करूँ, economic globalization means the increasing economic independence and national economies across the world through a rapid increase in cross-border movements of goods, services, technology and capital. सो बच्चे, ग्लोबलाइजेशन का मतलब है गुड्स का एक्सचेंज, आइडियाज़ का एक्सचेंज, कल्चर का एक्सचेंज, ऑल थिंग लाइक एक और अगर मैं एग्जांपल दूँ, that a militant group issued a statement threatening college girls who wear western clothes. एक militant group ने एक थ्रेटन किया जो गर्ल्स जो हैं वेस्टर्न क्लोथ्स डाल रही है. तो यहाँ पे बच्चे, इट इज़ द एग्जांपल ऑफ कल्चर ग्लोबलाइजेशन. वेस्टर्न क्लोथ्स को हम अडॉप्ट कर रहे हैं, एंड ग्लोबलाइजेशन का ये पॉजिटिव इफेक्ट नहीं है, ये नेगेटिव इफेक्ट है, बिकॉज अ मिलिटेंट ग्रुप इशू अ स्टेटमेंट थ्रेटनिंग कॉलेज गर्ल्स हु वॉज वेस्टर्न क्लोथ्स. वैसे तो वेस्टर्न क्लोथ्स डालना कोई नेगेटिव इफेक्ट नहीं है, लेकिन जो इस वजह से डिस्प्यूट्स हो रहे हैं, वहाँ कहीं ना कहीं ग्लोबलाइजेशन का एक नेगेटिव इफेक्ट है, कल्चरल ग्लोबलाइजेशन का. सिमिलरली इकोनॉमिक ग्लोबलाइजेशन मीन्स गुड्स एंड सर्विसेज एक्सचेंज करना. सिमिलरली पॉलिटिकल ग्लोबलाइजेशन, इट हैज़ ऑल्सो वाइड कंसेप्ट. So globalization is about the flow of ideas, about the flow of capital, commodity, people across the different parts of the world. And student, why globalization happened? Because of due to advances in the transport, in the technology, in the communication, and overall technology इतनी improve हुई कि globalization हुआ. So I hope student this topic is clear to you. In the next topic we will discuss the consequences of globalization. It means the political globalization, economic consequences, political consequences, social consequences in detail. This was just an introduction. So I hope the introduction of globalization through the examples is clear to you. Students, if you have any doubt, you can call me. Thank you, students.